I swear every time I think I've made my last Oklahoma quarterback video, something new happens. In today's video, we actually have two subjects to cover. We have to talk about Caleb Williams leaving, and we have to talk about the addition of Dillon Gabriel. I also want to touch on the fact that Oklahoma has basically lost their entire quarterback future in the last 2 years. So, we're going to talk about all the guys they missed out on, the transfers of both Williams and Rattler, what Dillon Gabriel and Nick Evers will bring to the table, and overall, my thoughts on Oklahoma football moving forwards. But right before we get into today's video, we are now on the road to 100k subscribers, and if you want to be a part of that, quickly be sure to hit the subscribe button, smash that like button for the algorithm, and be sure to turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's get started and talk about Oklahoma quarterbacks. Let's go back in time and see how Oklahoma became the quarterback factory. Yeah, there were guys like Sam Bradford and Jason White, but it's really changed once Lincoln Riley got there. He got there right after the Landry Jones and Trevor Knight eras, and he began with a star quarterback in Baker Mayfield. Not only did Mayfield bring home the Heisman, but he brought them to the college football playoff and eventually became the #1 overall pick. After Mayfield left for the NFL, Lincoln Riley would have to find a new guy. Who did he look to? Well, he got Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was a 5-star Texas legend, and after a year at Texas A&M, he decided to transfer to Lincoln Riley's offense, and he became a star, the #1 overall pick, and won the Heisman Trophy and got him to the playoff. He did exactly what Baker did, but neither of them could get themselves to the national title game. Maybe third time would be the charm. This time, they brought in former Alabama transfer Jalen Hurts. While there was a little bit of a debate whether he would start, he quickly became one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He ended up becoming a second-round pick, a Heisman finalist, and led them to the college football playoff once again, but just like the other two, he could not find himself winning the big one. So, who did he have next? Well, he had a guy named Spencer Rattler. Rattler was a part of the class of 2019 and was the top quarterback prospect. He ended up going 7 of 11 for 81 yards and a touchdown, as he was the backup to Jalen Hurts and saw a little bit of time in the college football playoff game against LSU. Going into 2020, he beat out Tanner Mordecai for the starting job and was expected to be the next great quarterback under Lincoln Riley. How did he do? Well, he got off to a pretty slow start, but he was on fire by the end of the year. He passed for over 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. He also ran for 6 more touchdowns on the ground, and because of that, the hype for him was unreal going into 2021. He was expected to be the #1 overall pick, expected to win the Heisman, and expected to put up big-time numbers. How did that end up happening? Well, it didn't go great. In the Week 1 game against Tulane, he was honestly exposed. From there, his confidence was shattered, and there were rumors that Caleb Williams was going to get an opportunity. It all really started to come to fruition against West Virginia, as he was actually booed right before halftime. Yeah, this was the student section, but the fan base and the college football world was starting to question if Rattler was the guy. Riley would put in Caleb Williams during the Red River rivalry game against Texas, and he not only led a comeback, but he rejuvenated the fan base, made all those big-time plays, and showed that he was the guy moving forwards. Rattler took a step back and became his backup. Caleb Williams went on to have a Heisman-like play against Kansas, where he literally took the ball out of his running back's hands and converted on a big play, which ended up sealing the game. Yes, it was completely embarrassing that they were playing that bad against Kansas, but he took over and showed that he had that it factor. While he did struggle against Baylor, Caleb Williams finished the 2021 season on a very high note and has been terrific. Rattler ended up throwing for 1,483 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 picks, and decided to enter his name into the transfer portal after the year. Caleb Williams, on the other hand, threw for 1,912 yards with 21 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He was also a factor on the ground as he ran for nearly 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. He most recently played against Oregon, and in that game he threw for nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Williams was seen as the future of the program, but then we got a major curveball. Lincoln Riley decided he was going to leave Oklahoma and go over to USC. Whether it was the lure of the West Coast, fear of facing SEC competition, or he just thought he needed a change in scenery, we don't know. Either way, Lincoln Riley is going to try to bring his quarterback-friendly offense to the West Coast, and he has been looking for a guy to take over. Yeah, they had true freshman Jackson Dart emerge, and they flipped Malachi Nelson. He would need a guy who could really take USC football to the next level, put them back on the map, and maybe even win a Heisman Trophy for him. So, what did Lincoln Riley do? Well, I think he reached out to Caleb Williams and finally convinced him to come down to USC. That's just a feeling I have, and I can't back that up, but as of right now, everything's a little bit fishy. Williams decided to enter his name in the transfer portal, and he took to Twitter and had this to say. It's a little bit long. This season has been incredible. Words cannot describe the amount of love I have for my teammates, coaches, and Sooner Nation. The support everyone has shown me couldn't be more appreciated. You guys are the best. As you all know, the sudden changes this season sent shockwaves through Sooner Nation and were really hard for the whole team. I'm proud of what we did this whole season, but especially the last 4 weeks. I think we all come to college to find our own path and prepare for the future. I came to Oklahoma with a game plan, but with all the recent changes, I need to figure out what is the right path for me moving forward. According to the NCAA rules, as a student athlete, the only way I can speak with other schools and see who may offer me the best preparation and development for my career is by entering the portal. Staying at Oklahoma will definitely be an option as I begin this process. I'm going to take a few days off to decompress and relax with my family, but thanks again to everyone for all the love and support. Basically, this tells me that Caleb Williams is not completely sold on Oklahoma, he's not completely sold on Jeff Lebby and Brett Venables and the future of the program. I think Lincoln Riley may have made a call to him. If I really had to guess, I think there was some sort of communication between him and USC as they basically offered him the starting spot, or maybe there was a giant NIL deal in the works. I don't know, and that's all just rumor and speculation, but for right now, I think things are a little bit fishy there. There's absolutely no way he goes back to Oklahoma though. Yeah, staying at Oklahoma is an option, but that is just to appease the fans and to try and at least compress some of the hate he's going to get. Oklahoma fans are not happy on social media, and honestly, I wouldn't either, as this leaves the quarterback room pretty bare right now. In terms of Spencer Rattler, he is headed down to the SEC. Some thought he would go to an extremely high-profile school, but he ended up choosing South Carolina, which is a mid-tier SEC program. He'll have the opportunity to start right away, play with some of his former teammates under Shane Beamer, and maybe save his career in draft stock. I'm excited for what Rattler's going to do next. I'm also curious what the heck is going to happen with Williams, but if I had to put my money on it, we're going to see him in a USC Trojan uniform next fall. So, what about the other options now, and who do they even have at quarterback? Well, in a perfect world, you'd look to one of your guys on the bench. Maybe a guy who was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, or someone who has been developing behind the other 2 quarterbacks. Unfortunately, they ran both of them off. No offense to them, they weren't a part of the future plan, but anything can happen, and in this case, they lost both Rattler and Williams, so these 2 guys would have had their opportunity had they stayed. So, who were they? The first one was Tanner Mordecai. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of the state of Texas, and he had high hopes, but he would never get an opportunity to play. Spencer Rattler beat him out, and he became a backup, and honestly, the writing was on the wall. So, what did Mordecai do? He entered his name into the transfer portal and ended up reuniting with Lincoln Riley's brother at SMU. Under head coach Sonny Dykes, Mordecai started this year, led them to a bowl game, and had a terrific 2021 campaign. He finished with 3,628 passing yards, 39 touchdowns, and 12 picks. He was top 15 in passing yards and the 5th best quarterback in terms of touchdowns, and he has established himself as a legit NFL draft prospect and someone who could bring SMU football to the next stage. I would absolutely love to have him at Oklahoma right now because putting him in the system with Jeff Lebby and all those talented receivers would be really good for him, and he has a lot of experience, but unfortunately, they don't have him. This one honestly hurts more than the other guy though. You guys remember Chad Morris, right? He was the legendary high school coach who was at both SMU and Arkansas and was better known as one of the worst Power 5 head coaching hires of all time. Well, his son was pretty good too. His name was Chandler Morris. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school and originally decided to commit to Oklahoma. After barely appearing in 2020 with the Sooners, he decided to enter his name into the transfer portal and he would go to TCU. I don't know if you remember this, but Lincoln Riley actually blocked his transfer and was being extremely petty about it all. Yeah, maybe he knew the system and the playbook, but eventually it would get resolved and Chandler Morris was eligible to play right away at TCU. He didn't start the year, but against number 12 Baylor, he went off. He threw for 461 yards and had 3 combined touchdowns as the TCU Horned Frogs upset the number 12 Bears 30-28. He'd end up finishing the 2021 campaign with nearly 700 yards and 4 total touchdowns, but he's the future of the program, and I think Sonny Dykes and his staff are going to make him into a really good player. Both of these guys could have been the starter at Oklahoma. So, as of right now, they lost all 4 of these guys to the portal. They lost their 2 superstars in Rattler and Williams, and 2 really good options behind them in Chandler Morris and Tanner Mordecai. They've also had a couple of guys committed who had high potential. Brock Vandegrift was a 5-star recruit in the class of 2021 and is a quarterback who's currently redshirting at Georgia. He actually committed to Oklahoma, but he is now at Georgia obviously, so if they would have had him, I think the future would be a little bit bright. Also, you guys may know who Cameron Rising is. If you watched the Rose Bowl on Saturday, you saw he is the quarterback for Utah. He's helped them win all these games, and while he hasn't put up super eye-popping numbers, He's a good starting quarterback, a guy who works really hard, and is someone who could develop into a potential NFL quarterback in the next 2 seasons. Rising was a big-time recruit at high school, but he ended up flipping from Oklahoma to Texas. Had they been able to keep him, then maybe things would be a little bit different. Then you have Malachi Nelson. This would change nothing for next year, but he was a 5-star recruit in the class of 2023, and he was originally committed to Oklahoma before he flipped to USC once Lincoln Riley went there. So far we've lost 4 quarterbacks to the portal, and 3 guys with high potential flipped to a different program. So what is left for them now? Let's take a look. So the first guy we need to talk about is their incoming 2022 quarterback, Nick Evers. He was out of Flower Mound, Texas, and has had a great last 2 years with that team. He started to blow up on the Nike Elite 11 quarterback camp route, and his stock has been rising throughout the last few months. Because of that, he was only a 3-star recruit, and he decided to originally commit to Florida back in March. And he has now blossomed into a 4-star recruit, and scouts are really high on him. According to them, he's a 4-star recruit, the number 8 quarterback, and the 123rd best player in the class of 2022. He was going to be the next great quarterback under Dan Mullen, but then, when he was fired, he decided to open up his recruitment. Immediately, he got a ton of offers, including Auburn and Oklahoma, and Jeff Levy really wanted Evers to be a part of his system. He's the guy who coached up both Dillon Gabriel and Matt Corral at Ole Miss, so he would need to sign his own 2022 kid, and that is exactly what Evers is going to do. He's 6'3", can throw the ball, and can run the ball, and with him being a late riser, he kind of reminds me of a CJ Stroud to a degree. I'm not saying he'll be that good, but I'm excited to see what Evers can bring to the table, and he has the opportunity to either be a backup or maybe even start in 2022. We will have to wait and see though. Now we get to the final piece of the puzzle, as while I was literally making this video, it was announced that Dillon Gabriel will be transferring to Oklahoma after he previously spent time at UCF and committed to UCLA. This is a little bit shady too, and it's honestly a little bit unfair to UCLA. The guy committed there and was going to be DTR's replacement, but I guess he just waited for the Oklahoma spot to open up so he could leave right away. Williams literally announced this earlier in the afternoon, and by the end of the night, he's already committing there. With all the NIL and transfer portal stuff, there's got to be some tampering and communication going on, and I'm going to save my opinion for, I guess, another video or until something comes out. But on paper, this is a good move for Oklahoma. So far in 3 years with the UCF Knights, Gabriel's passed for over 8,000 yards, 70 touchdowns, and only 14 interceptions. He is also somewhat of a threat with his feet, as he's also rushed for 8 touchdowns. He did get hurt in 2021 against Louisville, but I do believe Gabriel will be a starter, and he's a potential NFL draft pick down the road. As of right now, the quarterback room is a little bit bare though, as it looks like it'll be Dillon Gabriel with Nick Evers as the backup. I think they'll end up getting one more guy in the transfer portal, or maybe they'll sign another 2022 guy. But right now, the cupboard is really bare in the 2022 class, as pretty much every guy has signed or committed somewhere. It'll take a lot of convincing. Venables has lost a decent amount of players to transfer so far, and he's going to have a lot of work to do. Overall, Oklahoma's lost pretty much all of their quarterback talent that they've gained, and it just goes to show you that just because you're the top quarterback school in the nation doesn't mean you can't have issues. I do like the future under Jeff Lebby and Venables, but for right now, they are in a little bit of trouble, and I'm a little bit worried. What do you guys think, though? If you're an Oklahoma fan, what do you think of the quarterback situation? Who do you think will be added to the roster, and how will the team do next year? Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Smash that like button if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.